The Artisan Sound channel, and this is a short continuation just to give you an update here on how we're proceeding with our Willy Wonka Jr. mic plot decisions and what our next steps are. So in consulting with everyone involved and looking at everything that we had here at the end of the last video, we decided that this character here, Miss TV, does need to have a mic whenever she's on, and we decided to eliminate a channel here, a character that was only using the second set of umpas down here. There were umpas here on this channel, and then James is here in the first couple of scenes, or first song and the Candyman song, first scene and the Candyman song, or second scene in the Candyman song. And so we decided to make two characters share this particular channel here, this particular mic. And so it's going to be James and Mrs. Gloop. And that frees up the 15th channel for Miss TV. So this is our final track layout. You can see the microphone numbers up here in this line, and the DCA group numbers in this line. And we went with the primary assignment of DCA 2 being Wonka, 3 Charlie, 4 is shared between Joe and Matilda, and then 5 is shared between Augustus, or not shared, but a combination of Augustus, Mike, and James. And then Gloop is actually, we're changing the DCA group assignment right here when they're switching mics in this channel. We're changing that assignment to 7. I suppose we could say 5/7 here. And then number 6, group 6 is Veruca, Papa B, Finn, that's a short name for Phineas, and Mr. Salt. And number 7 is Miss TV, Mrs. B, Mama B, and Violet, and Mrs. Gloop, or Miss Gloop. All right? Okay, so that's that. Now the next step that we did from the information that is already in the spreadsheet, you can see here, there are all songs are here in purple and all scenes are here in green. And we have simply just logged every character who has lines in the scenes, and every character that is singing solos is listed in the purple lines, in the purple rows. And so the next step is that we're simply going to transfer this entire list here to snippets in the X32 Edit app. So let me show you that, because that's already done as well. So we're here in the X32 Edit, and I have no device connected to it right now, so we're just working on the internal show that we have loaded into just the app. And so what we have here is, the naming of each of the channels, and then we've named the DCA groups, right? So we have, this is our music, this is our vocal reverb, and then in the middle are the 6 DCA groups that we're using to bus all of the mic channels into one of these, right? And so we've just kind of used a standard naming scheme here, so we actually know with these little short codes here for each character who is actually in that DCA group. So it's easy for us to mix from the iPad, from the auditorium. All right, now here we are in snippets. This is the show control setup, and I just want to show you something here, because there are 2 different ways that, and I've found both pretty good. So the first way is what we have here right now. We basically created a snippet for each song and for each scene. So you can see here, if you go back to the spreadsheet, scroll back to that, Pure Imagination is the first song, Golden Age is the second song, then there's Scene 1, Scene 2, Candyman is the next song, and so forth. So it goes through the entire show. Now the way that we decided to do this here is that we're saving the group assignment of each channel and the naming scheme of each channel and of the 6 DCA groups that are dynamic, that are changing. Oops. So we're saving all of this information in each of these snippets, in addition to the mute status of the channels and the DCA groups. We're never actually muting DCA groups. We're only switching the mute status of the channels whenever they're on or off. But the parameters that are selected here are that. And so when you go through here now, you can see, let me just load this. So every time you double click one, it asks for confirmation that you actually want to change. Let me see where can I put this so that we can actually look at both at the same time. Maybe like this, that might work. Okay, so now we see all the DCA assignments and all the track names, and we also have here this strip here, this row in the mixer here, shows us which DCA group each channel is assigned to, and you can see here the numbers, right? It's number 2 is Wonka, number 3 is Charlie, then Joe is 4, and also Matilda is 4, and so forth, right? So that information is all here, and that is all saved in addition to the mute status. So now we are on Pure Imagination. Pure Imagination is the snippet that's loaded. You can see only Wonka is unmuted, everybody else is muted. Let me pull this up just a little bit more here. I'm going to load the next song, and you can see now everyone is unmuted here. Okay, for the next song, the assignment, group assignment, and channel names have not changed in this one. And Scene 1, same thing, so it's just a different mute status, and this follows exactly what's in our spreadsheet. Scene 2, and I think the next one is where this channel here changes to Miss G, Miss Gulp. No, not that one. Let's see, is the next one? That's the one. Okay, so see now Miss G is here, Miss Gulp, and the group assignment has changed, and I guess the naming scheme here has not changed. So I guess we needed to. Okay, so that brings me then to a good opportunity to tell you. So this is kind of the disadvantage of doing it this way. If you save the group assignment and the names of the DCA groups and the channels in every single snippet, and you notice that, oh, I actually should have changed that here, and now you're clicking on the next scene, and it's there's actually, this is what it should be in Scene 2 as well, I suppose. Maybe it doesn't matter, maybe that's the transition scene. Yeah, it looks like now it's all corrected. All right, so now we have the proper naming scheme going here. So James is no longer listed in this DCA group, and Miss G is shortcutted here, MG, in that DCA group. So so it's all fine, and it doesn't matter which way you do it. I just wanted to point something out to you, because the other way to do it, so with this method, you literally have the DCA names and the DCA group assignment and the channel names. You have them saved with every single snippet, right? So that means if you decide that you want to make a change, let's say you want to make a change somewhere here, and you want to keep that same change all the way through, and I'm talking about changes in the naming scheme or the DCA group names or the DCA group assignments, so any of those changes, if you want to make a change somewhere here on the top and carry this through all the rest of the show, let's say, then you would have to theoretically make that change in every single snippet. And that's, of course, a bit of a hassle. So therefore, the other way to do the thing, and the other way to do it is to not save the group assignments and the source scribble with each snippet, but to make generally only save the mute status with each snippet. And then you're going to have separate snippets like this one here that doesn't save the mute status, but it only saves the source, scribble, and the group assignment status, right? So then if you do it this way, you notice that, oh, I just want to change the DCA assignments over here, you would just create a second one of these or a copy of this one, and you would unselect the mute status, then you would name it whatever you want to name the DCA groups and the fader setups, and then you would save that as a separate snippet that only saves the changed status of the naming scheme and the group assignments and the DCA settings. And all of these snippets here would only save the mute status. So that means whenever you select the different mute status, you wouldn't actually change the DCA group assignment. And then you would have to only, change the DCA group assignment whenever you need to change it. And if you want to change it for the rest of the show, and there's, you make a change to the DCA group that's already, to a snippet that already exists, you just have to make that change once, and it'll carry through for everything else. So it's a little, I kind of have come to like this better, but there are some disadvantages to that. When you create, you can more easily create messes with that. You can, kind of forget that something was important here and then it needs to be changed again. So it has advantages and disadvantages. In general, I work the other way now. I work this way, that I save the DCA settings in separate snippets, and then I deal with those changes from scene to scene or song to song only on a mute status basis. Okay, so then they only have mute status information saved. So this is the other option of the other way to go. Anyway, so now that we're here, the next thing we're going to do is transfer or enter information to call up those snippets here from within QLab, where we have set up our show. Let me just open this here. So we have this set up here, and let me just fix the audio assignment here so that all the X's are going away. And so here down here is where we started setting this up so that these MIDI control or program change signals, they are the events that are calling up the snippets that we have set up on the X32. So you get what we're doing here, right? This here these snippets here are in the X32 console. They're saved there, and from within QLab we can call them up so that they're automatically selected, and the status of the X32 console, the mute status of everything that's saved in each snippet here, is then automatically changed when we send this control command inside QLab, right? So that's what we're doing. And so from here, we basically just, for pure imagination, we recall snippet 2, which is pure imagination. For the next song, Golden Age of Chocolate, we recall snippet 3, which is Golden Age. Then for scene 3, we recall snippet 4, which is called scene 1, and so forth, right? So this is how we're going to set it up. We're basically now transferring everything into QLab so that we can call up from QLab. So we're firing this group here when Candyman underscore starts. We're firing this group event, and it starts the music for this Candyman underscore, and it also sets the X32 to the status that is saved in snippet 5, which is the snippet for scene 2. So we're going to go through everything here and just set up following just basically the spreadsheet again, setting up a new group for every song and a new group for every scene. And that way we can just simply advance within QLab, and all the mic mutes and all the DCA group status settings and everything there is automatically changed to the scene or to the song that we're going to fire, right? So here in scene 1, we're going to fire that, and then the recall snip 4 is fired. Page 12, here we have Candyman underscore. We fire that. It recalls snippet 5 for scene 2, which starts with the Candyman underscore and also fires the Candyman plays the Candyman underscore, and so forth. So this is how it works. Now the next thing, so we're going to go through the entire show and set up our QLab file so that each scene and each song is remote controlled here by just simply advancing in QLab, and it changes the board settings and it fires all the music. And then the next thing we're going to do is in the rehearsals, when we have people on microphones, we're going to see, in particular for the scenes, but also for the songs, we're going to check and make sure that it's okay to have all of the mics unmuted that are talking in that scene or singing in that song. You know, sometimes you have a scene where only a few people that are in the scene are on stage in the beginning of the scene, and then some characters come in later, or some characters leave the stage earlier, before the end of the scene and before the next thing starts. So we're going to go through that and kind of refine our snippet settings. So for example, let's say there's a snippet that has 5 microphones open for the entirety of the scene. And let's say in the beginning there's only 2 of the characters are actually on scene, and the other 3 are coming on later. So then in those cases, what we're going to do is we're going to change the actual scene, the actual snippet for the scene, to have only these 2 mics open that are in the scene to be in the beginning of the scene, and then we're going to unmute the other mics with separate unmute commands that we're going to insert as separate commands whenever they come on. So it's going to be the same as if you would work them with manual mutes or unmutes in your script, but in QLab it's easier to do it because you always just hit the spacebar or whatever your button is that you're using to advance to the next event in QLab. You just use that to fire whatever the next action is. If it's an unmute mic, then we're going to put that in here, and that's going to be the next action. If it's a mute mic, we're going to put that in there, and that's going to be the next action. So just be aware that it's a good way to work like this, like we're doing here. So we have everything set up. The entire scene is unmuted. That's great for rehearsal purposes and everything. And we can simply go through, as we go through more rehearsals, and just fine tune it here without having to do a whole lot of work preparing on the script, because then we can just simply make notes in the script on the next rehearsal run and say, okay, in this case, have only these 2 people open at the beginning of the scene and mute channels, blah, 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 later in the scene as a separate event, right? And so you're just going to make notes of that, and then we're going to enter these events in QLab, and I'll show you how to do that once we get to that as well. So this is awesome work of our team here. And so continue to set up we're going to continue to set up this QLab file here to reflect the entire show, to have all the scenes and all the songs lined up like this with those recall snip events. And then in the next rehearsals, we're going to go through and refine it in the way that I just explained. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. And this is Thomas Bartke signing off for the Artisan Sound channel.